Welcome back to Balls.
Show us your balls.
Um, take us away. Take us away.
No, you go first. You go first. I insist.
Um, I'm your host, Malachi. I use they them pronouns.
And I'm your schnasty host this week, Grace. I use she her pronouns.
Schnasty? That's the one you came
That's
up
the
with
one
last
I came up
night?
with last night. It was like 4 in the fucking
Schnasty?
morning. I was like, this is gonna be great. This is the best adjective I've used for myself to date. And I've been doing
I'm
this since like
disappointed.
episode 2. It's gonna be so good.
I think you've had better adjectives. I think last
Like
week you had a
what?
better adjective.
What was my adjective last week?
I don't remember what it was last week. I was just editing an episode. The, Rotoscope the Baby episode.
What?
You don't remember
I
the
remember the
Rotoscope the Baby?
conversation, but I didn't expect to hear Rotoscope the Baby.
I think that's what I'm gonna call it, because we didn't really stay on topic of anything other
We
than the part
never
where we yelled
do.
at each other.
This is ADHD the podcast.
No, but I mean, like, we didn't stay on, like, one topic
Right.
for,
We
like,
never
very
do.
long.
This is
But we
ADHD
did for the
the
Rotos-
podcast.
No, but we stayed on the rotoscoping the baby for, like, quite a while.
Right. I suppose that's fair.
But you used desalinated.
Desalinated. Right, because I was feeling particularly non-salty that day. Despite the fact that I got quite salty, as the gamers would say, towards the end, which if I may say so myself.
It was a public service when I kept telling you that they rotoscoped the baby.
I did not rotoscope the baby. I've seen movies where the baby
Let's do
cries.
the argument again. Let's do it.
The fucking pacifier, Malachi. In the
You're not allowed to
pacifier,
do
they
that.
make the baby cry.
You can't make a baby cry. You have to rotoscope the baby.
It was the early 2000s, and even if they rotoscope the baby, they gotta make the baby cry somehow.
No, they just need to rotoscope the baby. They don't need to, like, have they don't they
Fuck
I
it.
don't know
We've
what
got
to
other
tell
shit to talk about this week. This is a new episode. That was like a fucking year ago that we recorded that. It's 2032 now.
I hate to tell you, by
Robots
the
are
way,
taking over.
I never believed they rotoscoped the baby.
You monster.
I
You
I'm gonna
did
be
it
totally
for
honest.
content? You sold yourself out?
Well, see,
For the funnies?
you know, it was
How
really
dare
funny,
you? It was hilarious.
though. I'm googling it now.
See, this
just
is
to
why
confirm.
we do a podcast together. Because you'll do
Apparently.
this shit. And I'll react to it.
I'm reading a Business Insider where they talk about rotoscoping the baby.
Spoilers for episode titled Rotoscope the Baby. Go watch that one first if you don't want spoilers.
They just get the baby to cry. They don't
Yeah.
like, scare the baby or something. They just like
Put peanut
you've got a
butter
baby
on the
handler, right?
fucking roof of its... Baby handler? What is it, a
You've got-
fucking goat?
What? No, it's a baby wrangler. Baby wrangler.
Wrangler?
They actually use baby. Yeah.
They call it a
We have to-
wrangler?
You need the baby to do what you want it to do, right? So you need someone who's like prepared to get a baby to
They
do
get
what you want
fucking
it to do.
Steve Irwin's lesser-known nephew in. He's like goddamn Joffrey Irwin. And
In
he's
this,
like
we're hearing about Elaine Hall. She's a baby wrangler in Hollywood.
Elaine
And she
Hall.
just starts crying, and that's how she gets the baby
she
to
just
cry.
stabs herself in the thigh real
No, she
bad.
just cries.
Starts
She just
crying.
She just fakes crying. It's nothing. So
I like the
deep, so-
idea that it's fucked up and twisted. Like she just straight up kills someone in front of that baby.
Mhm.
That's how they got Mary Kate and Ashley to do it. That's why they didn't show up for fucking Fuller House.
Yeah, and then they my success rate is 100%. That's so fucked up.
You
to
are the
say.
best in the world at making babies cry. Does she have
Anyways.
kids of her own?
I have no idea.
Does she
There's
make
more
them cry
information.
all the time?
I'm not. I
Is
don't
she
know.
practicing
Probably not.
at home with her own kids who are gonna grow up to be completely unhinged? Anyways, how was your week?
My week was pretty good. I'm in school. I'm doing school.
Yeah, we actually talked this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because like outside of the podcast, we're actually mortal enemies.
Mhm.
You're like Perry the Platypus to my Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah. You've never tricked me one time.
And you're constantly making my life miserable. I just want someone to love me.
The thing to think about is that it's funny.
It's okay to torment somebody if the mental anguish leads to humor. You heard it here
I
first.
mean, if you think about it in a utilitarian sense,
God
right?
damn it.
There's an amount of humor that you can do where it like outweighs the like negative utility. Like I'm a utility monster for me doing something that's funny.
Did you do anything special other than play Hunt with me this week?
I played Hunt with you. You know what ended?
What?
Vatu. Vatu is over.
Yeah, well, we already have an episode about that, and it was published months ago.
Well, it was published like not months ago.
As of recording, it was published last week, but
It will not be months, I don't think. I think it'll be
it'll be like
barely a month.
A month, yes.
Anyways, Vatu's over, and it was so good. The ending was so good. You need to read at Vatu for the ending alone. It's so good. It's unbelievable how good they made that. There was some wrap up stuff. The artist, there was someone made like a fan zine, and that zine was insane.
Zine?
Yeah,
Zine? Like magazine?
I always say zine.
Magazine?
Well, it's like vine. It rhymes with vine.
What's a magazine?
Well, it's
Sounds
not.
like something the Power Rangers would use as a practice tool.
You're right. People call it a zine. But that's stupid. That sounds dumb.
You're
Zine is way
dumb.
cooler. I'm actually really smart. I'm actually a genius. I'm actually
Then why are you making
cool.
Vatu the sequel in the episode? We've already done this episode, yeah?
Vatu deserves. Every episode that I can make about Vatu, I'm making about Vatu. In
And
fact,
the
last
same
one-
goes for Mist for me. And you know what I've got in front of me right now?
Give me a minute. I understand. But listen, last episode that we posted did not need to be named Read Vatu. In fact, there were like better things to name it probably. But I made the executive decision that it should be called Read Vatu because you should read Vatu. It's so good. Holy crap.
This episode's
Anyways.
going to be called Read Mist because you should read Mist, and I'm going to start reading Mist.
But how do you read Mist if it's a video game?
There are 3 fucking novels, you dumbass!
You don't need to call me a dumbass when I was leading
It
into
was
you
for
saying
the
that.
funny, though! Anything for the funny, you utility monster!
Okay, tell me about the. Did you get all 3?
No, I just got the first one for now because it's a fucking book and it's going to take me 7 years to read it anyway.
How long is it?
In total, there are about 422 pages. It's
You should read the last page.
a pretty small book. Okay.
No, don't wait. No, don't.
Special
I was kidding.
edition. A thrilling
Oh,
tale
okay.
that will appeal to not only gamers, but also to all those who enjoy
Wait,
a
you're reading
very
from the
fast-
back? That's not the last page.
Yo, mama's not the last page.
That's also true.
I took my bookmark out of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea to read this because I have more value in this than I do in Jules Verne.
He made a good book. It's
He
fucked
makes
up.
several good books, but like 20,000 Leagues just has too many science words and it gives me a headache.
I like 20,000 Leagues a lot. That's fair though.
I enjoy
so you're
it. It's
Getting
just a lot
hyped
of
to.
work. Yeah, I'm
Did you
getting-
start this one?
Not yet. I read the acknowledgements.
You read those?
I read the acknowledgements.
Well, are they like one page? Is it like to my kids? You know, they're pretty cool.
Well, they didn't have kids at the time. They still might not.
What'd they say? What was the acknowledgements? Read them to me.
Well, they said we'd like to, though only our names are on the cover, it would be untrue to say we wrote this story by ourselves.
Oh, because like the Mist fans.
Well, like, there is a special thanks to the fans at the bottom. It starts with Richard Vanderwind, who, you know, was creatively involved. Ryan Miller, the lesser known of the Miller brothers, who wrote the first book. I'm assuming that's to do with, like, the game, the story of the game.
Yeah.
John Biggs, Chris Brandkamp, Mark DeForest, Bonnie McDowell, Beth Miller, Josh Staub, and Richard Watson for input and output. And Brian DeFiore, the editor, and David Wingrove, who is an author on the book.
Those are boring. I always find the ones more interesting when it's like to 1 or 2 people.
And I'd like to thank
specifically.
Rihanna,
The nice
a
message.
person who isn't relevant when this book was written.
Is that there?
No.
Well, I mean, normally it'd be like your kids, although it would be very funny to
I don't
thank
think
Rihanna.
they had kids.
Well, your kids, your spouse, your partner, your parents,
That's fair.
one of your parents.
This book came out 2 years after the first Myst game.
a good friend.
They have
So
something.
what's
I'm sending you a piece of art from the second cover, essentially.
cool?
That bit in the
What?
middle is embossed. There's just a hole in the front cover that it shows through.
Where does it take place?
I don't know, but it's a prequel, so I'm assuming it's going to talk about how Gen became fucked up and evil and how Eastrus got put in his position.
So you think it's going to take place mostly on Riven?
No. I hope it takes place partly in the caverns, but I don't expect it.
The caverns.
Yeah.
When you say the caverns, what do you mean?
The ones underneath of fucking New Mexico.
Oh, yes. You also didn't send me an image.
I did? Who did I send
you
that
did
to? I sent it to my friend Blue. I sent all of it to my friend Blue. Okay. I'm sending you all of the pictures I've sent you in order. The first one is Judgy Frog from before the podcast started.
Sure. Yep.
The second one's the front cover,
Missed.
and the third one's the inner bit.
That's cool. I hope there's numbers in the book. They should put numbers in the book.
You know, I was really pissed when I saw that the chapters were not labeled in dunny numerals.
Are they labeled at all with numbers?
Well, yeah, the chapters are numbered, but
Ugh.
they aren't with.
I mean, if you numbered them, if you didn't number them, I'd
There's
understand.
illustrations in here. This book has pictures, yo.
Well, I guess that makes sense when you look at the books inside of the games.
Sure, but this isn't a journal. This isn't one of Atrus's journals. This is a story.
I just think that it makes sense to have the medium be kind of similar to those.
I suppose so.
I don't know. Seems cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to read it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Cool. Anything else exciting happen for you?
I've got a few other packages on the way.
Nice.
Actually, this book is the one I was expecting to arrive second last, but it arrived
What else
first.
do you have coming?
Tomorrow, I have sword trainers coming in. I'm going to start learning how to fight with a Cossack Shashka, which is a saber that the Cossacks used.
And by saber, you don't mean the fencing saber, but more of a sword
Like
saber.
a Shashka. I mean, I can send you a picture of a Cossack Shashka.
Yeah. I'm confirming for the people in the listening in, because you mentioned some of these things.
Yeah.
That seems cool.
Here's a good picture. So I'm
Dude, all it just disappoints me about swords is that real life swords don't get to be gigantic, huge, in
I don't
media.
like those anyway.
You're wrong. Simply, if a sword is bigger, it's just cooler.
I think
This is always true.
I think the sword, for a sword to be cooler, it has to have a deeper curve.
I actually think a deeper curve in most cases makes a sword less cool.
I think you're wrong.
I think a huge sword with embellishments or weirdness.
The curve
is really
is
cool.
weird.
So some curves, if you have a flame-bladed sword, that is weird. But
I don't know. I don't.
You wouldn't consider that curve, right?
I don't know.
Because it goes back and forth, right? With the but that's not a curve in the same way as a katana has a curve.
Well, it's not for cutting those swords.
Well, they are.
Then why would they be curved like that?
I don't remember the specific reason, but they are what do you mean? What else would they be for?
Thrusting.
They're way they've got too much of a specific thing for them to be for thrusting. They're thick.
I don't know. You talking about a flambridge?
Sure.
This kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a stabbing sword. Thrusting weapon. You wouldn't get a good cut with that.
I'm looking it up because I'm 90% sure you're wrong.
It's curved like that so that the wound from a thrust is fucking miserable and you can't really heal it very easily, if at all.
Some of these are definitely thrusting ones, but the big ones are like not thrusting ones.
What do you mean by the big ones?
There's plenty of Zweihanders with flame blades. And those are not for thrusting. It's not like you're gonna thrust with a gigantic sword like that.
I mean, you could. It's like using a spear.
You could, but why are you not just using a spear?
Because you insist on having a weird fucking sword.
The argument in this article says it's about aesthetic, which I do think makes sense.
Right.
I don't think it makes your sword like significantly worse than at like
For cutting, it does.
Why?
Because instead of having one solid edge that you can get a good solid cut in that like really catches and pulls, you've got all of these curves that just make it harder to get a solid cut.
So then why does anyone use a serrated knife?
That's different. That's for like really gripping it because you're able to, you're sawing with that more so than you are cutting, you know?
I just think that to say that these are all thrusting swords is like definitely wrong.
Well, that is what they are for, though. Have you seen the Cyclone Blade? It's like that twisted three-bladed knife dagger thing.
The Cyclone Blade.
That's
No.
It's the same principle as that. Is that if you have a uneven wound from a stab, it's going to be miserable and almost impossible to heal, which is significantly more likely to incapacitate than, say, a regular stab wound. Or
Okay, I can understand that with
superficial
this
cut.
like Cyclone Blade, which is like a disgusting looking weapon. Versus like, but like not with like if you're thrusting with a flame blade, like it's not gonna make a significantly large like more. Because it's just like side to side. It's not gonna make the like cut like worse.
Have you ever been stabbed?
I will admit that I have not.
I'm just repeating knowledge that I've gathered from elsewhere on the internet.
I just think that I would see something about these being for example, that these blades gave wounds that would not heal, or that the serrations on the blade prevented dulling. Oh, they don't say either of those are right. They see the seen on two-handed war swords, rapiers, small swords, and daggers. And for a lot of those, I agree are thrusting weapons. But you're not. No way are you telling me that those gigantic two-handed war swords are for thrusting.
Yeah, I mean, thrusting is a solid move for anything. It helps create distance. Much easier than cutting, too.
But on one of those gigantic, you don't need distance. You have a huge sword.
Well, you still need distance, because if you don't have distance, you're not going to be able to use the sword. If somebody's 2 feet away from you, you're not going to be able to swing, cut, thrust. You'll probably be able to block, but that's about it. And even then, you won't have that much maneuverability because you don't have space in front of you. The idea of a longer sword is to create more space, so it makes sense that you would use it for thrusting, at the very least, just to keep people away. If it was a proper cutting sword, if it was meant to be like primarily for cutting, it would have a curve in it. That's what curved swords are for. Makes it better in the cut.
That's not strictly true.
No, it is. That's the whole reason that the swords are curved. Is because it makes
Well,
it
like
easier
that's
to
not
cut
true.
with.
When you look at like a katana, it's not curved because that's better. It's curved because of like how you do the process.
Right, but because it's curved, it gives it a better center of gravity for cutting, and it also means that as you swing it, you'll have more of that cutting edge engaged with your target. That's why it's curved like that. You're talking to somebody who's been hyperfixated on this stuff for the last couple of weeks.
Okay, I just like I don't believe that a flame-bladed sword is made worse at like stabbing things, given that this article seems pretty in-depth and says nothing about that. Like, doesn't mention it once. It says maybe it'd be good to push hafted weapons aside, but really it looks like it's mostly style.
Maybe. I'm not
But,
an
like,
expert,
that- I don't-
but like what I heard was that things with curves like that in it are for making stab wounds worse. I'm not an expert. I've just been severely fascinated by this stuff recently. So I can't say that what I say is right. But it just makes sense to me, because if you stabbed with something like that, if you got stabbed with that, it would act like a serration, that it would grab a lot more material on the way out.
I disagree. It's like no different than just having your sword be bigger.
Well, no, because like it's like a key, you know? It's like anything with like a drain snake. You know how drain snakes work?
How drain snakes work is that they like
They go in
can
one
fit
way,
into your drain.
and then on the other side they grab stuff. They grab whatever's clogging up your
Okay,
drain.
but this
and
isn't
pull.
like serrated.
That's what these do, though. It's essentially like a serration.
I disagree. It's like you had a wider sword. That's it.
With a flame-bladed sword,
Yeah.
they aren't wider.
No, but like the curves are like if you stab into someone, it's gonna displace the.
Sure, on the way in, but when you pull out, it's gonna give you more, like, it's not gonna be a clean pull. You're gonna catch more, and it's gonna make it worse. Is if you got
I
stabbed
feel
with a
like it's
flame-bladed
not
sword and you left
significant.
it
When you look
in,
at these swords, there's no way that's significant.
I would beg to differ, but at the same time, I wasn't there. I will say, it does make a lot of sense if you think about it.
I don't agree. I'm seeing people spar with these, and they are not trying to stab each other.
I don't know. Like I said, I am neither an expert nor particularly interested in flame-bladed weapons.
So you don't think that the curves make them cooler?
No, I think it looks dumb.
You think it looks dumb, even though it looks cooler than like anything? What you like? What sword? You like that saber thing, and you're like anti-flame bladed swords?
Yes, it's impractical.
It's impractical.
Yeah.
Well, that might be true, but it looks cool as hell,
I don't.
and that's inarguable.
It's inarguable. It's personal taste. How is it inarguable?
No, it's inarguable because I'm right.
I think you're wrong though, because
You said you liked swords with curves in them, so
I like
I'm
curved swords, not swords with curves in them. Swords with curves in them can be pretty dumb, like flame-bladed weapons. Sabers, like the one I
wait. So you
am
you do
using.
mean curved? You mean
Swords
I'm looking at
with a cutting edge, a cutting blade, primarily cutting weapon like a saber.
yeah?
A blade that has a substantial curve, something meant for cutting. Particularly one-handed swords. I do like one-handed swords a lot.
You don't want two-handed swords.
It's just a lot more effort to like have to deal
Well, that's
with
why
it.
we need to live in fantasy, where you get to have like a gigantic sword
I
that
don't
no one could
want-
feasibly carry.
Gigantic sword. They're dumb. They're really dumb.
Okay, but if you could one-hand a huge sword, would it be cool?
No, I would still choose a smaller, lighter, faster sword.
But like you can one-hand it and move it like with the speed of like a smaller sword. Would it be cool?
That's just dumb. You couldn't.
Why is it dumb?
Because you couldn't.
But like you can. It's fantasy.
Even in fantasy, it would still have to have heavier properties, or else it'd be pointless to even have small swords.
I'm just saying, live with it a little bit. What if your sword could be bigger? Wouldn't that be cool?
No.
That's because when I say sword is bigger, you're thinking, oh, now I have the cumbersome sword. I don't get to do
No,
my
I'm
cool
thinking
tricks. I have to.
now I have to play with distance more. Whereas if I have something smaller, if I can get closer to my opponent, then they're fucked if they have a really big sword.
No, but you can move this sword like nobody's business.
Sure, but if you're 2 feet away from somebody with a 7-foot sword, they're gonna fuck you up because you can't get in there with yours.
You're probably at a disadvantage. Are you just like you just want to be right up next to someone when you're killing them? You just want to stab someone, but be like 1 foot away?
Well, no, but in this universe, you're going to have an obscenely long sword. and I'm going to be 2 feet away from you with my saber, cutting you to bits because you can't swing on me.
But you're just saying that you'd prefer to be. But like, I just don't understand. Like, you don't like the distance thing. What's your deal with that?
If somebody, if you're fighting at length and somebody has either a shorter sword or something like a spear, something that's also good at distance,
Mm-hmm.
you're both going to be playing the game of who can control this space between us better from a distance versus if I have a shorter weapon, you have a longer weapon, all I have to do is close that distance and I win. Kind of. You know, you could always take your hand off and punch me square in the face, but
Wait, so why does that? Why is that more interesting to you? The closing the distance thing.
well, because it's just if somebody's fighting with a longer weapon, it's just going to win you easier. It's going to make it easier for you to win an engagement
When you have a shorter weapon.
when you have a shorter weapon. If
I
you
feel
can
like this is not
control
true.
that space, get up close enough
Okay, yeah,
to
but
like inside of their, like past their effective range towards them.
but I just don't understand because like at the same time it's more difficult for you to get within that range because they've got like a bigger sword, a gigantic cool sword.
Sure, if they have good control of that space between us and they're, you know, effectively keeping me away with well-placed thrusts, but if I can get one good parry and then slip just within range, I could get a good cut in, which could be debilitating or possibly even fight ending.
Well, it just feels like both of the, like there's advantages to both sides.
There
You
is,
keep saying
but this
it
is my
in a way
preferred
where
style.
you just prefer the style of like getting in close to someone.
Right.
But so if everyone has the same size saber, like what you're thinking, then
I still prefer it because it's cooler to me. If everybody's fighting with a saber like me, then I would rather still use the same weapon because it's just cooler, in my opinion.
I just don't understand. The saber looks dumb. I sneezed the devil out of you. I scared the devil out of you. The devil that was making you say that you like sabers.
I still like
Now.
sabers.
Fuck.
They're fucking cool. Like, I'm not talking like sabers with a big old basket hilt because those I don't like the way they look. I understand their practicality. I would totally use one in real combat if I had to.
Mhm.
I don't.
The one you sent
We
has
have-
like no handguard at all.
right.
And
It
you think that's
doesn't.
cool?
I like it when it has less handguard to it.
You want to be fighting with lightsabers.
No,
You don't want to be fighting with
I
lightsabers.
do not.
Is that just because of like Star Wars in general?
No.
Or like
I just don't. It would be easier to fight with lightsabers.
you're saying you want to have to deal with edge alignment, whereas with lightsabers you don't need to care about that.
It's a mixture of that and like a few other things. Yeah.
Like you don't need speed to hurt someone with a lightsaber.
Right. I mean, you need speed to be able to defend against a lightsaber, but like with a steel weapon, there's just I feel like there's more theater to it, realistically speaking.
I mean, they did a lot of theater. in
Sure,
the-
but they didn't have to.
That's true. They probably should not have been fighting in the way they
were
did.
fighting in a very ineffective way.
It was pretty cool though.
I will admit, some of the fight scenes in those movies were cool. I personally don't care as much for the movies.
Did you see when you have Darth Maul show up and he's doing backflips?
Yeah, and then
That was pretty cool.
he gets cut in half.
He did his own cutting. Thank you very much.
Stabbed Qui-Gon.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
He didn't cut him, he stabbed him.
He must have done a little bit of stabbing because that thing's not gonna just stay straight in a person. It was impressive that Qui-Gon got stabbed. He stabbed him in such a way where you don't think of lightsaber stabs as a thing that kills people. Like how many people in Star Wars die to lightsaber stabs? It's mostly like you get chopped into pieces.
Sure,
Let me
but that's
think
just
about this for a
because
moment.
you don't usually thrust at lightsabers just because it would be much less convenient, especially with a double-edged one.
Right.
Or like a double-bladed one.
Yeah, double bladed. But he did he stabbed him and then Qui-Gon it was like a mortal wound, right? Like, it's like not as effective because it's like
Right,
you're not
but
hitting as
think
much of the
about
body.
where he got stabbed through. Plus, the
But
heat
he's
of the lightsaber would just melt your bits.
But he like stabbed him somewhere that was mortal, but not instantly mortal. Like he hung on for just long enough to be like,
Fall in the pit.
damn, I'm fucking dying.
He fell in the pit, right?
Oh,
I
Darth
think-
Maul did, but like
I
Qui-Gon
thought
was like,
everybody fell in that pit.
yeah,
I mean, I know Obi-Wan falls in the pit. I know Darth Maul falls in the pit. I thought everyone fell in the pit.
no, just you have Obi-Wan falls in the pit, but then he escapes from the pit.
Yeah, so does Darth Maul, though. That's the thing.
Well, that's yes, this is true.
I don't know. I'm not an expert on Star Wars, though.
No, you're right. He does escape from the pit.
I don't know.
Anyways, you're excited about the sabers. It
Yeah.
seems pretty cool to swing a sword.
And we've only talked about that. I still have 2 other packages, one of which is not interesting at all, but the other one is an Armenian instrument. It is a duduk.
An Armenian instrument.
A duduk.
Sorry, say it again.
A duduk.
Duduk. You've mentioned this, and I don't remember when you were mentioning this.
A month ago. 2 months ago.
But like, was it in reference to something? Is there something related that I would like know where a Duduk?
2 System of a Down songs and some songs from Myst. It was
Songs
featured
from
heavily
Myst. It must
in
have been that.
Mystery's soundtrack.
It must have been we were playing Myst 3 and you were talking about the Duduk.
Probably.
Well, tell me about how the Duduk works.
It's like a clarinet, I suppose, in how it's played. It's a double-reeded instrument.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
And
I don't have one yet. It's still shipping. It's coming from Armenia.
well, I'm looking
so
at
it's gonna take a
images.
while.
It looks like you... I guess the clarinet thing makes sense. You have holes in it that you cover up.
Yep.
Just like a recorder.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you ever play the recorder in school?
yes, I did.
How did it go? Did it hurt your ears to listen to everyone else playing the recorder?
Not many people in my school were musically talented.
So yes.
Yes, it hurt.
It-
Probably.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I have next to no memory of anything before 3
Mhm.
years ago.
Do you think you could play Hot Cross Buns if you were given a recorder today?
By the end of the day, I probably could. I'd have to look at some note charts just so I could figure out fingerings and stuff.
Right. Was that one of the ones you were taught in school? I always wonder because like I learned in Canada, right? So I feel like I don't know. We must be listening to. They must be teaching us different songs.
I mean, we did learn Hot Cross Buns. That was the first one we learned.
Well, maybe not so different, I guess.
I think they tried to get us to do Go Tell Aunt Rudy, but that might have been in middle school on my trumpet for sight
Yeah.
reading. I don't know. Like I said, next to no memory.
It's fair. The duck looks cool. How are
Yeah.
you planning on learning?
The internet, same way as anything else.
That makes sense. Are there good videos about like?
Yeah, there's plenty.
Ooh, Duck Lesson 1: How to prepare the duck to play.
I think I know exactly who you're watching too. Or who
Yeah?
you see. Yeah, I don't remember his name, but like he's got a beard and a dark
He does
room.
not have a beard.
No?
He has a mustache.
Mustache, that's what it is.
It's a very specific mustache,
Right, yeah.
and then a very clean-shaven chin.
And a dark room.
The room is pretty dark.
Yeah?
You got me there.
Yeah. And it's got like a blue hue to it.
I don't know so much about that. He's wearing a blue shirt in this video, so it feels like some amount of that's just the blue shirt.
I'm remembering something I watched over 2 months ago. from
Yeah.
memory.
I don't expect perfect memory.
I knew he had facial hair. I knew it was a dark room. I knew there was blue.
It's a very well-produced video.
Yeah.
And this guy's got like less than 8,000 subscribers. I'm very impressed.
Yeah. And he lives in like Denmark or Sweden or Norway or something.
Yeah?
Yeah. He makes custom druks for people. Out of
That's
his own
pretty cool.
shop. I'm thinking about going fishing after we finish here too. Just another thing going on I might do.
Where are you going to go fishing? It's a rainy day over here. Is that good for fishing?
I like to go fishing just after it rains because that washes a bunch of like minerals and shit into the water,
Sure.
flushes out bugs from the ground, and gets the fish all hungry and shit.
Hmm.
I'm not an expert, but that's when I like to go, is like the day after it rained. And it rained yesterday. It's pretty clear today. It's not supposed to be that hot. When it's hot, you don't want to go fishing.
Yeah.
Not
Just
only
because
is
it
it
sucks.
not only does it suck, but also the fish don't really bite.
Right.
But it's gonna be closer to 5 by the time I would get up there, maybe 6.
Is it just like a river?
Yeah, it's I mean, I've sent pictures of it before.
Yeah. Yeah. What type of fish do you catch in there?
Trout.
Trout. Trout are one of the classics.
Yeah.
One of the most classic fish.
Freshwater trout.
Fresh. Well, I assumed that much.
Yeah.
I
Well,
assumed you weren't in some saltwater river.
I was quoting a lyric from
You
Drano.
were? From Drano?
Or no,
I
it's
don't know who
rainbows,
Drano
not
is.
not Drano. They mentioned Drano. It's rainbows.
Rainbows.
Yeah, from Mufdoom.
Oh.
Mufdoom.
Wait, did they just say?
Off Mad Villainy.
I only listen to like the good songs on Mad Villainy.
Oh, that's a great song though.
I mean, it's not as good as the best songs though.
What? Fucking Ballskin.
Ballskin
gonna-
is not on Mad Villainy,
It's
but
not.
it is the best Doom song ever made.
I mean, I'm just saying, Rainbows is pretty good. You should listen to it more. America's Most
Maybe.
Splendid's pretty good.
I have been listening to more of that because it's on a playlist that Spotify made as like a mix for one artist that's not Doom that has a bunch of Doom stuff there.
That's fair. Shadows of Tomorrow is fucking strange.
That one's the one with like no.
Today is the shadow of yesterday.
Right, but like. Oh, they eventually get to the one part. Yeah, but it's like. Yeah.
I might listen to this if I do go fishing, just on the way on the drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's your setup for listening to things in the car? You just plug your phone in and you're all
That
good.
Bluetooth, unfortunately, I can't use my CDs because it doesn't have a CD player.
Yeah.
But it's got a Bluetooth connection I can set up with the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do cars just like not come with CDs anymore or something?
Nah. Guess put it.
I mean, it makes sense, I guess.
I like my CDs. One, it makes it easier. If you're navigating, you don't have to use your phone battery for everything. You can just use it, close every app, and then use it for navigation.
CDs are good. I mean, it's good to like
Plus,
be able
there's,
to
like,
preserve things and not just rely on them being on Spotify.
Right, there's that, but like, there's also a just the material of it, the scarcity of the material of it, makes it special. To me,
Sure.
anyway, that's
Wait,
why
scarcity
I
of
have
the
an interest.
material? You mean like not the material of the CDs, but you mean like the scarcity of like the CD with the song on it.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's just the fact that it is one physical item that, it's special. Every time you play it, you have to put it in a disc player, and, it's a physical thing. It's not
I heard some stories a
an
while back
infinitely
about
streamable thing.
Right. There was a one of my dad's friends walked around with a Walkman, and he had this. He had to get like he had a tape. It was some album. I don't remember what album it was. But I was told like the album was like did not hold up, just not that good of an album. But he listened to it so much that he damaged his first tape so that you just like could not listen to the album anymore.
Right.
And then he got a second tape, which was like by the time he was done with it, very damaged.
I mean, that happens when you wear out a tape.
But the funny part, especially, is that it's like a song that, like an album that just was not all that good, and he got through like one and like most of a second tape.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
It's a little weird, but it's also like I don't know. It makes sense. Like there's lots of songs that like suck that like mean something to people.
That's true.
I feel like it's a deeply human thing.
Mm-hmm. When did we last record? We recorded last week.
We did record last week.
I talked about the concert I went to.
You did talk about the concert
Okay, I'm just
with
trying to.
the band that we talked about that you sent me songs of.
Yep, those are the band. That's their names. I'm just.
That's
trying
not
to,
their names.
I'm trying to see what there is I can talk about at this point.
Their name, Church of the Cosmic Skull was one of them.
That is not one I saw, but it is one that I like.
No, it's one that you mentioned, I guess.
Yeah, I was introduced to it on the drive up.
Right, right.
Yes. Oceans of Slumber and Iris Divine played.
Oceans of Slumber. We definitely talked about Oceans of Slumber, and not so much about Iris Divine.
That's weird because I know less about Oceans of Slumber and have less interest.
You might have told me more about the band specifically of Iris Divine, but I remember the name because I brought up that the name Oceans of Slumber is pretty good.
Yeah.
Or if I didn't, I thought about it.
Oh, that's a thing I can talk about. My friend's coming through town next month, at the end of the month.
Yeah.
He's gonna be pretty cool. We're gonna hang out.
Seems exciting.
Yeah, he's going through to pick up. He's going to get one of our mutual friends that he's taken across the state back to his house, and they're gonna pass through here, and we're gonna hang out for a day. We're gonna
That's pretty cool.
get dinner. I'm gonna fucking beat the shit out of my friend with those practice swords.
Yep.
I'm gonna learn how to use it so I can kick his ass.
Yep.
Then we're gonna get dinner, and if the place is still open that late, we're gonna get ice cream. I don't know
Sounds
when it's
pretty good.
closed though, because the season might be over by then. The ice cream shop might close.
Yeah.
I hope not. I'd like to get ice cream after.
Speaking of dinner, I'm gonna buy some fucking groceries and I'm gonna make a soup. You know I'm making soup tonight.
What kind of soup?
I don't fucking know. Depends on what vegetables look good at the store.
That's fair. I think you should.
I'm gonna boil some vegetables in some water.
You know what I want? You know what I fucking want? A nice hearty beef stew.
Oh, you see, I'm not eating meat. Nice try.
Yeah, I understand. But this is not all about you.
It is all about me, and that's why I'm talking more about mine. I'm gonna get some onions.
Right, as you do.
Carrot,
Throw that in
probably.
there, make the broth. Carrot, nice, not bad.
I don't know, the rest random.
You gotta do a little.
Maybe
celery.
tomatoes?
You gotta do a little celery.
I don't know about celery. Maybe celery, because I might buy
Celery's
celery anyways
great.
for
celery
tuna.
just is great in the soup. Soup.
I
is
agree, it's
improved
really
by
good in
celery.
soup. But maybe I'll get some more lettucey type thing.
You know what you could do?
What?
You could pour it over rice. Have rice.
I could pour it over rice. This is gonna be a very watery soup because I want to drink it.
That's fair. That's why I'm suggesting pouring it over rice.
I think that'll make it worse for drinking. I think it's
Right,
hard to drink
obviously.
rice.
But it would be more filling and you'd have rice in there and it'd be flavored by the soup.
I think I'm just gonna eat way too much soup instead.
That's
Like,
fair.
why would I eat rice when I could be eating more soup?
Because it makes it last longer and you get to enjoy the soup over a longer period of time.
No, but what if I just made more soup? Like, what if there's I
It'd
could
be
make
less
some amount of
expensive.
the soup
If you
or
made
the soup with rice.
if you did it with rice, because then you'd be able to enjoy more soup over a longer period of time.
Okay, I'm not worried about the price of the soup because it's mostly gonna be water.
I don't know. I'm just saying. Just saying. I do need.
Maybe I'll serve it over rice at some point.
I
I need to
know,
make
I-
more beans too. I need to buy beans at the store.
What
do you
kind
think
of
about
beans?
beans? I don't know, black beans or pinto beans. I haven't really decided. Maybe both. What do you think about beans? What are your beans opinions?
I like refried beans a lot.
Well, everyone likes refried beans because they like the best food ever created.
Not everybody. A lot of people don't like them.
Everyone who doesn't like them they're wrong.
I used to be the only person that got them at school lunch on nacho taco days.
They had refried beans and people were like, "No, I hate this."
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Same thing happened with sauerkraut on special days like the Christmas dinner.
Sauerkraut day?
Yeah, it's dinner, Christmas dinner.
You had Christmas dinner at your school?
We got special lunch for Christmas. Before the day before Christmas break, we got special lunch where it'd be stuffing and they'd make fucking turkey slices, ham slices.
I had one year of American school, and I ate the school lunch, and it was always terrible. And the day before Christmas, I don't even remember because it must have been the same like terrible, disgusting burger with like cheese that like is fake. It was not real.
I've only
They
had
like
one truly bad experience with school lunch.
yeah.
Now, I've got some really good experiences too, I'll talk about in a moment, but the bad one is they served leftover Mexican pizza.
What does Mexican pizza mean here?
It is pizza with like extra cheese and sausage and like a little bit of weird seasoning to it. Not sausage, it's still like meat.
Okay.
Ground. It's like taco meat almost. Basically, is what makes it.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of different cheeses.
All right.
But it was really old and it smelled so bad I almost vomited as soon as I got to my table. I was unable to eat it. I had to call my mom because I felt horrible, like nauseous the rest of the day. So I had my mom pick me up like in my study hall period after lunch.
You was this high school?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess.
You're not supposed to call your parents to have them come sign you out, but I did plenty because I hated school.
Yeah. No, I was just the study hall part
Yeah.
because I only had like did it like say study hall or was that like a free period for you?
It was called study hall. But
That's
like,
interesting.
the room I was in for it had some computers in it, so we fucked around on those for the most part. I would play games on my phone, just do whatever, because I like wasn't doing extra schoolwork. I didn't have much.
Yeah. I wait, but was that just like your free period? Like if you didn't have the full courses? Not like full courses. Like I understand that you don't take full courses uh for every year in high school. But you
So
understand what I
if
mean.
I was in band, I would. There's 4 lunch shifts. If I was in band, I'd eat on lunch shift 1, and then 2, 3, and 4, like, makes up the rest of the period. I would have done band during that time.
Uh-huh.
Because I was not in band, I did not have. Because you get a study hall period either before or after your lunch. I'm pretty sure it's just like
But
whatever.
everyone got a study hall period.
Everybody for the most part got a study hall period. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but it was the length of a lunch shift. So if you were on lunch
I
shift
see.
3, you'd get a study hall in lunch during lunch shift 4. If you were lunch shift 4, I don't know what happened. Maybe you got one for the first lunch shift's equivalent. If you were on lunch shift 2, I think you got the first lunch shift was your study hall.
The way it worked at my high school was there was no like defined study hall period. It was just that like the first year you were gonna take 8 courses, uh, and then the second year you were gonna probably take 8 courses. But then eventually, in your third and fourth year, you could take like 6 or 7 courses.
Well, when
So if
you're
you
a
took
senior,
six
you
courses,
you only have to take math and English and like 1, maybe 2 other classes. So you would
if you
only
took
have
less than
2 or
six,
3
it was like
periods.
you. It. I don't remember the specific number you needed total, but I think you got like two classes you didn't need to take over all 4 years. So you could do it if you did 8-8-7-7 or 8-8-6-8 or 8-8-8-6. Or if you took like a an extra course over the summer, you could get an extra. Like you could do 8-8 and then one over the summer, and then like 7-6.
Oh.
You can figure out how much that adds up to. I could figure out how much that adds up to.
Right.
It's 30.
Yeah,
But
it's just at my school it was you have to take a certain number of credits,
yeah.
but how you take those credits is mostly up to you. So like as long as you get your 3 science, you had 3 science credits you had to get, 1 gym credit, 4 English, 4 math, you know, a
That was
language
mostly it too.
credit.
You basically needed to be taking most of the course, like most of 8 courses every year.
Yeah. In senior year, you only have to take like a couple of courses because in your first 3 years you get your 3 science, you would get
Hmm.
your art credit during that year,
Yeah.
your engineering credit, I guess. Like
Yeah.
for lack of proper
Wait,
verbiage.
but then did you also have just like free periods sometimes where you didn't have a class?
If you were in like I did because I was in a college class.
Right, but that was not like a free period. That was like period for your college class. I mean, you
Right.
could just like not do it
Well,
then
I
and do your
didn't
college
have
thing.
like some days I didn't have work I needed to do because I'd finish it at home or
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
finish it the day before. So it would essentially be a free period and I'd just do type racer and get good at typing. It's what I did.
Right, but that's not like a free period in the same way. Like for us, we would have like if you didn't fill out like if you had 6 courses during the year, you would have 2 free periods in your schedule.
Right. Now, this is only during my first 2 years of high school. In my third year and what little of my fourth year I did, I was at a vocational school
Hmm.
where I had A weeks and B weeks, during
Yeah,
which during an A week, I would have my academics, which is like I'd do my math, my English,
yeah. You had different classes during
history.
these weeks.
Yeah.
That makes
Um,
sense.
and then I'd always have, on my B weeks, I'd have one academic class at the beginning of the day, which was usually my math class. Or at least in my first year it was, because that's the only one I really did, and that's the only one I really
Right.
remember, because the second year was during COVID, and it sucked shit.
Hmm.
But I would do my math class, and then I would go to the workshop for the IT group, which is what I was in. We had our own IT classroom in the vocational building because there were 2 buildings on the campus. There was the academic building, which it was only academic buildings, and then there's um, the vocational building, which
Hmm.
had a couple of academic buildings in it. Like it had math and an English. It had the cafe,
Yep.
you know, and the vocational stuff. So as the IT group, we did the IT work for the whole school. Like whatever we couldn't do, we sent up the line to the board, but we did pretty much everything we could.
Right.
Um, but we would go in there. We would have dedicated periods of mandatory instruction and schoolwork, and then when we finished schoolwork, we would do work orders. When we finished work orders, like there was a certain quota we had to meet, and then when we hit that, we could do extra. There were other things that needed done. We had to do. We had to re-image computers because of the Windows 7 compatibility ending. We had to get them up to at least 8. And if
Yeah.
it was already on 8, we put it to, or if we didn't touch it, if it was on 7, we put it to 10.
That makes sense.
So when we were finished with that, we had a quota we had to meet every week of that. So when we did, we just had free time, and because of the nature of the budgeting system, we each got our own system, our own computer.
Yeah.
And it was like well built. Honestly, it was almost as good as my computer I have here in front of me now. Like it had a
That's pretty nice.
proper 1080 graphics card. It had like 64 gigs of RAM. Like
That's a strong computer.
we were it wasn't tied to the school either. It didn't have a school MAC address, so we could download shit on it that we weren't allowed to on other computers. So we had Steam on our computers for the most part. You'd play games sometimes when you were free, and
Yeah.
um, sometimes this is just a funny story. Sometimes the IT group would play Halo multiplayer online via like the Halo CE Portable Edition, um, with the engineering students, and the engineering
Hmm.
teacher kicked our ass. And then there was when we would play with the IT teacher. He was a dick. He got
Yeah.
on a freaking like the equivalent of a ghost, but it could fly. I don't remember what it's called. Not a banshee, it's a different thing. But he'd just fuck around up there and shoot rockets at us.
Yeah.
I coined the term Sky Bully. I still have in my wallet a 15-minute game pass for when, like, we were given passes if we did exceptional work. So if we had a point where we were like, we just needed 15 minutes of fucking peacetime, and it was not quite urgent enough that we could just go to him and say, hey man, I'm having a bad time. I'm gonna go lay down in the classroom and fucking take a nap or some shit because I am having a real rough time right now. He would understand that. But like, if it's just I'm tired, I don't want to work right now. I'm gonna
Let
take
me get
15
my
minutes.
game on. It's
What?
for when you want to get your game on.
Yeah, it's for when you're feeling a little gamer. You get 15 minutes, you go play a match or two of Halo.
Yeah.
You know, well, Halo wasn't out on PCs at that point. It didn't come out until COVID hit, if I'm remembering correctly. Or no, this was before COVID. Yeah, it was out. So you could have played Halo, I guess. You just play a match or two of whatever you want, and then you get back to work. I still have a pass in my wallet from that, and if I ever run into him, I'm going to give it to him. I'd be like, hey, I'd like to redeem this now, and he's going to be like, you have not been in my class for fucking years.
I have something similar because when I was in New York for a year, I was in Spanish class, and I'd already learned Spanish a little bit. I'd also learned French. The option was French or Spanish, and I was like, please put me in French. I can't get a year off of French. Like, I need to know French for school when I get back to Canada, please. And they were like, yep, that's a pretty good reason. We're putting you in Spanish. So I did pretty well in the Spanish class, and they gave out, the teacher was so nice, but she could not keep the class in check at all. So I was like the one good kid in the class, and I'm not like exaggerating there. I might be exaggerating a little bit.
I had classes exactly like that. That was my.
It was crazy.
That was my second year of high school in my English class.
Yeah. Well, she gave out like these fake like class dollars, and I still have a bunch of them because I just like never spent them because they were never worth it. It was like random pencils and erasers and stuff, and I did not care. I got 110% as my final grade in that class.
My school, like my middle school, had a proper store that you could like spend a bullshit made up funny bucks.
Yeah. Did it have good stuff?
It had some good stuff that cost $1 million. It was called Paws because our school's mascot was a wildcat.
Yeah. What was the things though? What were the good things?
They had like cinch bags and sweatshirts and shit.
Oh,
with like school branding on it.
Yeah, but like a nice sweatshirt is worth.
They were like, it was a Gildan sweatshirt.
A mediocre sweatshirt is like still like $20. They were like, right?
Yeah, probably like $15, $20, and they were like cheap quality cinch bags too.
I'm thinking about Canadian dollars, 20 Canadian dollars, which is probably more like 15 USD.
$15, yeah. 20 of your loony bucks.
Loony bucks. Interesting to say loony bucks when a loony is just a $1 coin.
Right, that's just what I call Canadian currency because it's funny.
You call it like Monopoly money because it looks cool. Because it is more resistant to scissors than your currency.
Right, it's also more resistant to everything than our currency.
Yeah, your currency, you put it in water, is it still alive? Probably a little
probably,
bit,
but it's wet.
Yeah, you don't want that. Versus ours, the perfect currency. It's not the perfect currency. You still have pennies in the States? Are you kidding me? You're still making pennies?
Yeah.
That's messed up.
I mean, then you got dollary dues, which are like, well built.
Dollary dues?
Australian currency.
I figured, but I needed to make sure. Is Australian currency also the same type of plasticky stuff?
I think it's a different type of plastic, but I know it's still a plastic.
Yeah, like I understand it's not the same plastic.
Pretty much all of the states that were considered in the Commonwealth, if it's got the Queen on the currency, it's got plastic bills. From my experience, from what I've seen on the internet.
I do think the Commonwealth is the ones that are like adopting it. Which one has the Queen on it on the Canadian bills? It's like the something.
Not many for long.
I think they're still gonna have her. It's the 20. She's on the 20. That's the most important bill. Get her out of here.
I don't know. I'm already done with her.
I can't believe we didn't talk about the Queen dying at all.
Because I am done with her.
Yeah.
Like, the way I learned
That's
about
fair,
it was
actually.
emotionally distressful. Not because I care about the Queen, but because I don't handle people screaming fire well.
Yeah.
Like, I learned because somebody came in screaming, she's dead, she's dead, she's dead, in all caps in the chat. And I don't handle that well, because I didn't know who she was, and it could have been somebody important to me.
Yeah. I took a nap and I woke up and my friends were like, "Yeah, the Queen's dead."
That
I was
happened
like,
to
"Oh."
me, but with Mr. Peanut.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's worse though because that's not even a real death. That's not even like
Right, but he's more important to me because I liked Peanuts.
I guess, but like who cares?
I fell asleep watching Tron Legacy. I
Good
woke
movie,
up.
Classic movie.
I watched the first third, fell asleep for the second third, woke up for the third, like the final third, found out
Yeah.
Mr. Peanut died, stopped watching the damn movie because it's fucking dumb. Fucking Super Bowl commercials,
What?
goddamn killing
It's
Mr. Peanut.
dumb? Oh, you mean the Super Bowl commercials? Or do you mean the Tron Legacy?
Tron Legacy is not the greatest.
You're a hater. You're a hater.
That said, I
outta
haven't
here.
watched it in a while because I fell asleep last time I
That
watched
movie
it.
has its problems. I'll admit it has several problems.
It's better than the
but
first Tron, save
I
for
actually
the
haven't
fact
seen the
that the
first Tron.
soundtrack for the first Tron is still good. Wendy Carlos is a national treasure. Daft
That
Punk
movie is
too,
better
but they're
than
French.
Pirates 1.
No, it is not, and you are a heretic.
So the real thing that we're going to discover is that to an outside observer with no stakes in this, they would probably rate these movies probably similarly, despite the fact that Tron Legacy is better. But
You're a
we
fucking
both-
monster. You can't
we
just
both
say
have-
that.
But we both have like attachments to these movies because we watched them when we were young.
I watched Tron Legacy when I was young too.
You
I
were
just
like,
watched
not so
Pirates
discerning.
more because it came out sooner.
You were just not as discerning when you watched Tron Legacy.
Well, to be fair though, I came out the same year that fucking Pirates did. We're both 19 this year.
Yeah.
So I, have had more time to enjoy it than a movie that came out in like 2009.
Okay, but it was a. That's weird. Why are you watching a movie that came out when you were born?
Fucking
Simply
Finding Nemo, Brother Bear both came out that same year.
be born earlier so that you are older than those movies.
You telling me I'm not allowed to watch fucking movies from before I was born, from when I was born?
No, you're allowed. Just be born earlier. Simply be born earlier.
I'll go back in time and fucking, I don't know.
I was looking at my birth certificate, and it said the year there, and I was like, actually, it's gonna be a little bit earlier. And so then I was
Giles,
born a few
bring
years.
me my pen.
So then I was born a few years earlier. It starts out small. You just edit your birth month and make it like a little bit earlier in the year. And then you're born like 10 years
17
before.
years earlier, yeah.
Yeah. It's in my case, it's actually 11 years. I was originally born 9 years ago.
What?
Well, I changed it. I was born. That makes it sound like I'm 9, but there's time travel involved in this. You have to understand that when you change your birth year, it means that you were born at that time, but not like in a. This is not a bureaucracy.
What happens
sense.
if you
This is in the sense
accidentally
that-
erase the entire thing, though, instead of just...
You have to be really careful about that. That's why there's like techniques involved.
Do you just, like, put it on Scotch tape and then press it over?
That's a good one, but there are flaws to that.
Well,
The
if it
Scotch
falls
tape-
off, then you just
Yeah,
suddenly-
exactly.
Right, but then when you're old and frail, you just carefully take off with your shaking hand that paper, and all of a sudden you're, like, 30 years younger.
The thing you have to keep in mind is that Scotch tape does not last forever.
Right, but if you put it in a lamination, all you have to do is cut that lamination
Okay, who's
open.
gonna laminate a birth certificate? Are you kidding me?
It would keep it from getting damaged further.
And there's no reason to laminate it. That's just a cowardly. I've heard people who do that, and it's cowardless.
Just put it on your fucking wall like a goddamn PhD. Like, yeah, I was born.
Okay, that'd be funny as fuck. Actually, imagine you're in like at some like university, and every like professor has like some like awards on the wall, and then one person you walk into their room like literally just a.
It's not
birth
even.
certificate.
They're not even a professor. They're just there. They're like the counselor or something, and they don't have a PhD in anything because whatever they got hired because because they're good,
Right,
not because
right.
they're qualified, and they just have their birth certificate on the wall, frame.
It's a really nice frame too. It's like gilded.
It's better than the other professors with actual PhDs.
That'd be so good. I need to get hired at a university so I can do that.
Doesn't even have to be a university. You can just get hired anywhere where you have an office and then just put it on the wall behind your chair.
I think you need the expectation of it, like an award being on your wall first, though. So maybe you need to be
but that's because you've got your own office. If you have your own office, then
no. But it's not just your own office. Like you need to be in a place where other people have their own offices with like important awards.
just go to become a fucking dentist's assistant.
Oh, that'd be good. My
Put
dentist
your
assistant
fucking
office.
Put your birth certificate on the wall of the practice room, the
That's so
freaking
good. No
dental
one-
room.
Someone walks in, they're like, "Why is your birth certificate here? I don't need to know how old you are." What do you?
I am qualified. I have certificate.
It's like so much worse to think.
I
like,
went
why?
to hospital. I worked there.
This person wants to tell me how old. Like, do I need to be thinking about how old my dentist assistant is?
When you're
I don't
born,
want to ever
you
think
just
about that.
when you're born, you just say you graduated from that hospital because it's got a date on it and your name, and it's fucking
That's good.
that's great. On that note, though,
Yep.
it's been an hour.
Which means you should send us an email. You've
Yeah,
listened
send
this
us
far. Send us an email. Say, I am already a doctor, but I'm gonna lose my doctorship so I can do exactly what you've been describing.
Send
Or
us
maybe
an email of a picture of your birth certificate framed above your desk.
in a circular frame.
Doesn't have to be circular, but bonus.
I'd
points.
prefer it if it was a circular
Just
frame.
you know what? Just crumple up your fucking birth certificate into a ball
Yeah,
and send us a
yeah.
video of you tossing it into a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Become ungovernable.
Become ungovernable. Stop existing.
Our email is, of course, ballpod.show@gmail.com. It's also going to be in the description. Send us an email.
Quick disclaimer: don't actually burn your birth certificate. Doesn't make you ungovernable. They have that shit on file. They'll just make a new one.
Yeah. Wait, what actually happens if you burn your birth certificate? Like, it's bad, but like...
both of my parents have lost theirs at some point in time. So they just order a new one from where they were born, and if they have the records from the hospital, then they'll just make you a new one and mail it.
Oh, I see, but it's just like a pain.
Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of like, it's the same as a high school diploma. You can get another one printed if it still exists
Interesting.
and they have record of it.
Well, with all that being said, I think it's time for us to go.
Yeah, don't
Well.
forget to wash your hands.
Don't
You hear?
forget to wash your hands.
Don't forget to wash your hands. You hear?
See ya.
Balls out.